my great pleasure to have James Gilliland and Peter Slattery back on Exopolitics Today. Between the two of them, they have decades of experience in terms of extraterrestrial contact, and they've taken compelling video and photographs of different craft from different civilizations over their respective sanctuaries in Washington State, Hawaii, and in Victoria, Australia. And they're going to be talking about some of their most recent sightings, as well as some of the backstory of what's really going on with the war in Iran.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Well, welcome, James and Peter.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us again.
It's great to have you both back. I mean, there's really been a lot that's happened since the last time we were together. I think it was in late 2015 we did a threesome and talked about things, but things have really taken off. So maybe we can start off with James. I mean, what do you want to kind of say about how things are unfolding at the moment, and of course, you got this war in Iran. So yeah, James, take it away.
I think there's a war everywhere right now. It's the sun is just streaming intense energy. I know a lot of people have been laid out the past 2 or 3 days, and it's bringing everything up. And, the old biblical stuff, where they're saying there'll be wars and rumors of wars. And there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes where tied into other politics where, a lot of gold and a lot of money, went over to Iran. That's being repatriated. They've grabbed the servers and they know who's involved with all this money. And, so, it's a big slush fund basically. And there's just so much more happening than we're seeing. And it's always been kind of a major deep state, asset, just like Ukraine, the same thing. There's just been a lot of money going over there and coming back into other people's pockets and things like that. And the war and disease profiteers are doing great. And, that's just an ongoing thing, but that's all coming to an end here pretty soon. And I know in the UFO community, everything is coming up there as well. And so we're seeing the mass come down, and a lot of the posers and the shills and the controlled narrative is collapsing, and they're squirming. They're trying to character assassinate everybody that is authentic, that is for real. I mean, that's an ongoing thing, and it's getting old, by the way. But I always tell people it doesn't bother me. You're only establishing your own character, with the nonsense. Just a lot of meritless gossip and things like that. But, the bottom line is both Peter and myself have such a long history of documented evidence, the videos, the witnesses, the scientists behind it, the triple PhD born engineers on my side, and all these people, Air Force base commanders, air traffic controllers, everybody that's seen all the activity. And Peter has the same thing going on in his place. They can't attack the evidence, which is overwhelming. So they're slipping into character assassination. But it's always, everything's there's gonna be a big boomerang, and we're in that phase right now. Everything is coming back. It's coming back down on the posers and the shills, and they're making their move right now to try to stay in control of the narrative, and it's collapsing. It's totally collapsing on them. So, I think it's a good time to ask, where's your evidence? Where's your proof? Where's your evidence? And stop with all the meritless gossip. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you've given us some more photos and videos of recent happenings at ESETI, so we'll go over that. But I now want to give Peter a chance to maybe say a little bit about what's going on in Iran and around the world, and how that kind of fits into the whole extraterrestrial question.
It's a very layered topic, and the realms of this that we could go into. As an example, you could look at the controlled narrative, as James would call it. You could look at the liberation process that is affecting the physical. And until one can understand the things that I'm saying, it's going to be a self-perpetuating situation of left, right, and the blame game. And until people can come back to the heart, observe what's going on and go, humans don't do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to play a part in this unless it's got to do with uplifting humanity with love and doing it in a peaceful manner. People just aren't going to understand even what I'm saying to an extent. And this is what demonic, archonic, and reptilian intelligences do via the conquer situation, which starts with first dividing. And to do that, you do a narrative to spin the wheels, orchestrating the situation to have the outcome. As we could say, David Icke rightly says, the totalitarian tiptoe. So I don't try to get into the situation of what many are in, even in this community, because I'm saying things firsthand from a perspective where I've been levitated, I've been scratched, I've been choked, and I know what the non-physical can do in the physical. And I know James in his own right does as well, but it's just a perspective I'm trying to put out there, because there are Stargates. And when we get into the Stargate scenario, there is a want to get control of them, because most of the travel that's done traversing space and time, not just in our galaxy, but other galaxies, is actually done via Stargates. There are crafts, there are beings in their Merkaba ascended bodies, in their Ascension body, and there are physical crafts, there's organic crafts and what have you, but the Stargate is a great device to traverse space and time to where you can even put crafts through the Stargate if they're big enough. But as I say, the most advanced Stargate we've got is right here in the heart space. And once you can go more organic than synthetic in the ascension process, we can do leaps and bounds, and there's intelligences out there that don't want that.
Well, I know there's been a few contactees, researchers that claim that this Iran war is all about control of a major Stargate there in Iran. So, what would you say to that? And also, there are claims that there are giants there in Iran as well that are being found in stasis chambers and so forth, and that's part of the rationale for the war as well. So, either one of you like to comment about that?
I'll say a little bit on it. I know Afghanistan has some major cave systems through there that do have, the giants are still there. And our troops have had a few interactions with them that didn't turn out too good. And there's, the inner earth, there's still giants there, but they're benevolent. They actually serve the masters, which are often a lot smaller than they are. And there's a lot of that going on. And I've heard about the Stargates. Now, a lot of my work is done experientially. It's like both Peter and I are having firsthand experiences and gaining information firsthand. And so there is a lot of talk about these things. And I think a lot of it's, could be verifiable. But, if I haven't seen it firsthand, all I have to do is say, well, there is a lot of witnesses that have seen these other things and that have been involved in it, but it's not my firsthand knowledge. So, but sometimes I do get information from the higher dimensions and the spiritually and technologically advanced ETs, and they'll tell me what's happening. And I really trust their information, because it's always panned out to be very accurate.
There's also been mention of this having some substance. I'm also meaning from the intelligences I'm interfacing with, but it's been more of like that. It's just not my thing. It's sort of a distraction, though there's validity to it. And I have also recently got some information in terms of people that are in military from different countries alluding to this, but unless I've got first-hand knowledge of this, it's just going to be hearsay, and I can't really back any of that up. So there is, things on the grapevine of that nature being spoken. But just a funny thing here as well. I was in Hawaii about a month ago with James doing a workshop there, and the place went into a state of emergency for 3 days over a storm where there was a little bit of damage on one end of the island. Then it was clear blue skies for another 2 days, but the beaches were still shut. And I said to James, I bet you that there's stuff happening on the ocean, getting ships over to the Middle East, and they're conducting things and don't really want people out there at the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if something starts up. And as soon as I get back within a couple of weeks, what's happening? What's unfolding right now? And so there are tactics in play. We could say like a magician. You see one hand doing something and the other hand's doing something behind it. And we've got to remember we're in a war scenario here, which is things are compartmentalized. They're not need to be known about unless it's a need-to-know basis. And because of that, there's also, we could say, situations of a lot of misinformation purposely put out there. And so, again, it's coming back to empowering the individual. And we can tell what we've got from first-hand experience. But I just would like to put that out there because a lot of things you just got to put in the grey box, not the black or the white, unless we could say things are for fact or you've experienced them. But we're in a time of war specifically, which we've been in for a long time, meaning a galactic and a transdimensional war, a war for one's soul, you could say, even though that's being dramatic. There is a scenario here that misinformation and gossip are keys to misleading individuals and also bringing lower vibratorial states and energies with it.
Okay, well, with regard to the extraterrestrials that you both are in communication with, I mean, what's their view on what's recently happened with the, this war in Iran, the release of the Epstein files? I mean, do they see the planet as kind of like heading on a good path, a negative path? Are we clearing stuff? I mean, what are the extraterrestrials saying to all of this?
Yeah, I'll cover that. Basically, we've been talking about this for both Peter and I for a long time about this ascension process, or whatever you want to call it, the Great Awakening. Everybody has a different name for it, but there's a massive influx of energy, and it's not just the sun; it's coming from other systems. And it's raising the frequencies, and we have to rise with the occasion, and it's bringing everything up. So all the masks are coming down. Everybody is being exposed for who they are and what they've done. And the karma is being accelerated and amplified. And so we're in this, what they call the great reveal. All this is coming out right now. And you can really see it in the UFO community right now, and every community. Basically, every institution is being revealed for what they're doing and what they've done. Basically, it's all coming out. And with the entrance of these incredibly advanced, spiritually and technologically advanced beings, they're bringing their consciousness and energy and affecting the planet, the planetary grid. And they operate under universal law, which is basically universal peace, brother, sisterly love, individual freedom, and prosperity for all. And that's being anchored in right now. And it's pushing everything else up and out. And so that's the process we're in right now. And you can see it unfolding. I mean, you see all these gurus, and you see the Dalai Lama, and you see all these people arm in arm with Epstein, and these other major ministers, like it's crazy. The Catholic Church is involved, all of them. It's all tied in together to this demiurge or archon network that's been running the show. And that's collapsing right now. That they used to call it the shadow god or the demiurge. Jesus in ancient times called it the demiurge, and the archons served the demiurge. Well, we've been under their control and under draconian law for like 400,000 years, basically. That's all collapsing right now. And it's exposing the whole network, as well as the people that are actually serving the network. They're in self-service, they're opportunists, and it's all about personal gain and fame and notoriety with them. That's all being exposed right now. And people are going to watch their leaders crumble and crash, and it needs to happen so they can go back within and make their own personal connection with God and Creator and Great Spirit. And when you do that, that's when you have contact. So there is a lot of distraction out there, and a lot of controlled narrative and a lot of other nonsense going on, and that's all being exposed, and it has to be, for us to rise to the occasion and go to the next level.
And Peter?
Just as we were starting this as well, there was an email that I got from spaceweather.com from I will say for people to sign up to that. It's not like an endorsement, but there's actually going to be a CME on the equinox, a big one that they're saying. So why I'm bringing this up is because people who know the material that I speak of basically this being a projection in God's mind and that the stars all are connected, there's transmissions and information coming through that. And through this, there is cycles, yugas, and what have you, where these cycles of civilizations rise and fall. And when they're falling, it's actually an ascension for some of those intelligences and civilizations on planetary bodies. And for some, they actually do fall, depending on the world. And we're in a situation right now where the way it's been explained to me with the beings that I'm interfacing with is that this is a process that's in play right now of, you could say, the dark night of the soul for the collective. If you could see Earth as one intelligence, that everyone's got their own traumas, things they've got to work through. But for that to be acknowledged and actually released and healed, you need to work through that. And that's what we're doing, not just individually in our own lives, but also collectively. And this is having a ripple effect on the cosmos, as well as other civilizations are going through it too. The way they've explained it to me as well is that they've also gone through this. They've gone through their own version of what we're going through, not just with the Lyrian Wars and the wars that were of Orion, but even locally, we've had this long time going back with Maldek and Malona. I will add here as well that at the sanctuary, I've had people that have been and worked at NASA, also Lockheed Skunk Works, even people that have delivered nuclear weaponry in the past. That's what they've had clearances for. And there's been a lot of people visiting, and the reason I'm saying that is because it seems that people are capped even with their own resources on what they're being told and what they're privy to. We spoke briefly before this, and James has met some of these people, that in time, I'll be revealing more. And I'm not the gatekeeper of anything, but we're trying to bring science to what I'm about to say, which is I am working with the team of Psionics, that the first and foremost reason, the only reason I'm doing this, not to prove my abilities, which we're videotaped and we are documenting, and not just for me, but with an amazing group that I'm working with and scientists, but for diplomatic reasons. There is a need for diplomacy that's already going on with what we could say is white hats, but there is also negative things happening in the cosmos, which I would say is about 5% of really what's going on. It's not all bad. It depends on how we look at it. But the reason I'm saying this is because we are not far off relations on a public level with these intelligences, and it's got to go from an individual to a group setting now on a public level. And my point with this is people wouldn't even be coming to me or James. James has had people exactly the same going to his place. And it's because we've got a bit of a different picture that's going on that they're not privy to. And when you've got this picture, you're privy to how this is more of not of a physical thing, though it as above, so below, but it's a spiritual thing. And less people can get that. And I'll just say this before I go off and giving it back to you guys, is that the biggest message in recent times for me is for us to not lose our sovereignty, to enter the cosmos on a public level, eye to eye, not us looking up to them, that they're better than us, but eye to eye, heart to heart. And until we can do that, this is what's got to occur, is this, we could say, cleansing of us to just get over our differences and realize we're all human. We've all got a spark of the divine in us. And come on, let's get on with it and we can make heaven on earth.
Well, when it comes to psionics and developing with the heart center, I remember, when back in the day when I was, doing my study of the Vedas and the great masters from the Vedic traditions, that they always said that as one goes down the path of self-realization, that at some point the cities get turned on, and to not get too enthralled by them, because they can be a distraction from self-realization and the highest path. So what does that mean in terms of extraterrestrial contact? If we are facing contact in the next few years, and many of us have been going down the spiritual path, do we focus on connecting with the heart center, being at one with the greater cosmos, or do we kind of like develop psychic abilities or the psionics?
Yeah, personally, I think it comes with the territory, like you said. On the path to enlightenment, you're going to have all these things start activating. And even the sun is activating our DNA right now, which is really kicking on telepathy. And that's normal, actually. We're coming back into our true selves, you might say. So we're getting one of the DNA lines that's being activated right now is telepathy. So, people are totally communicating all the time. DNA is always communicating, and they know that. And we also have DNA from the stars in us. We're a combination of DNA from the star nations and an Earth human that was evolving here naturally. So we're always communicating. We're just not aware of it. And the more we meditate, the more we go within, the more we acknowledge our star connection and our connection to the greater family of man throughout the multiverse, the more this is going to get activated. And also, too, the ability to teleport, to phase in and out like Bigfoot does and other beings, the fairy kingdom and things, all of that is part of this process. And so being able to go forward or backward in time, being able to see the future, remember our past, some of our past lives were with ancient civilizations, very advanced civilizations. And we went through that veil of forgetfulness. We lost it, and that gets activated as well. So we're not just this meat suit and a personality. We're multidimensional beings existing on a vibrational continuum, and our souls are eternal. They continue. They've been going on and on. We just are not accessing that. And so the more we access that, the more we're going to be able to make contact and join the rest of the universe and live under universal law that I was talking about before. And that's when we take a quantum leap. That's when, we transcend war, disease, poverty. These healing technologies come in, med beds, things like that. And they're like what we would call magic. Their healing capabilities are beyond imagination. And this is something that it's my little pet peeve, basically. These technologies have been available I had video of anti-gravity, counter-gravity, fuelless energy technologies, all of this stuff. I had this back in the 80s. And we tried to bring this out, and we were viciously attacked. Matter of fact, the scientist I worked with, his lab was blown up and his family was threatened. And so the people that are blocking contact, that are involved in all this gossip and backstabbing and confusion going on, they're actually blocking this quantum leap in evolution that we have that possibility to move into. And when you see all, the children dying in cancer wards and veterans without limbs, and you see this going on, and you just go, I don't understand this. Why are you interfering in taking this quantum leap in evolution, restoring the earth, restoring the planet. We don't need oil. We haven't needed oil for a long time. We have forever batteries. We have anti-gravity, counter-gravity. We have everything. I don't even know why we're launching rockets, to be honest with you. But we've had a lot of this stuff since the 60s. And we've been going back and forth to Mars and the moon since the 60s, basically. But, I'm sure a lot of people that, Michael, you've talked to are aware of this. But it's like, come on, guys, let's all unify. Let's all get together for the highest and best good of humanity and the earth. Stop with this competition and backstabbing and one-upmanship and all this other stuff that's going on. It's really sad that there are so many self-serving opportunists in this field that are just totally throwing a monkey wrench into contact. That that's got to come to an end. And I know Peter and I, because we are authentic and we have awareness of all this, are definitely a threat, to them and their lack of inauthenticity. But it's really getting old, and this whole controlled narrative and these documentaries that are going on and all of this stuff, they're missing the point. They're still, keeping people trapped in the past, with their necks cranked backwards or whatever. All this stuff is available now. And until we demand it and we awaken that it is available, it's, we're going to be all suckers to this controlled narrative and all the posers and shills that are running the show now. And that's going to have to come to an end here. And I know recently I've been really pissing some people off because I've been calling some of the nonsense out and some of the people that are involved in this. So, I am going to continue with this because I've had enough of it. We've had 40 years of contact, and why is this being censored? And we have the evidence to prove that this is happening. And so we have to ask ourselves, why is this being censored, even by the major conferences, by these documentary people, by lamestream media, and now social media? Why is this all being blocked, and who's doing it? And I think we need to really start calling out, the people that are doing it, the ones involved in these crazy actions that are totally outside of universal law.
Peter, your response to the spirituality of psionics?
Yeah, so I'll just add to that. So with the psionic side, this is an actual old term. A lot of people think it's new. And really it's just describing psychic abilities. Now, on each vehicle or group of beings you come across, there's at least going to be one what you could say is a psionic, highly telepathic being, but they're usually all to that extent. Now, with these abilities come responsibility, and it's not about showboating. For me, it's about exploring and showing others how to explore in a safe manner human potentiality, the amazing things that we can do. With that said, there's a balance that's needed as we go forward. Now, we can either have, and I alluded to it before, either a synthetic ascension or an organic one. And I believe we need a little bit of a both scenario happening here. And what I mean by that is you can use med beds, but you can also heal via intention and prayer and hands-on healing. You can manifest via thought, create things like a tulpa from your consciousness, and or you could have a replicator. You can bilocate or dematerialize and rematerialize, or you could also be using transporter technology. If people get my gist, I won't go much further with that, but very much a balance is needed with this, because we are in a scenario where if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And right now, we are on the precipice through people like myself and James and many others and yourself that have been doing the inner work, that have been going down this explorationary path of potentiality, human potentiality. And when you get down to it, the nuts and bolts craft, as amazing as they are, is child's play to what we can do via our organic self. our shapeless, formless, unbounded aspect. And these intelligences are trying to put a cap on that via a veil, so we don't know what we can do. And it all comes down to a thought, to being the best us, because via that thought, you can override what we're experiencing right now as a group collective. But first, it needs to be acknowledged. And until it's acknowledged, things can sort of just be a self-perpetuating situation, because when it's acknowledged, now you know what the situation is. You're 80% of the way transforming through that. And so when you're interfacing with these intelligences, they know every lie that you're going to put against them. They know everything that you've done, good and bad, and a lot of them are non-judgmental on that. It's only the negative that will use that. How are we meant to have extraterrestrial diplomatic means when we can not even get along because of culture, skin color, differences? And people wonder why things are the way that they are. We're dealing with spiritually and technologically advanced intelligences, and most of them are doing things via a thought and intention. They're not even using a vehicle. They're in their light body, their Merkaba, their rainbow body. Some of the Foo Fighters, they're actually beings in these Merkabas that are like a star, which are a star tetrahedron with the top spinning one way and the bottom going the other way. And because it's that quick, we're seeing a ball of light. There are intelligences in these things. I've even got recently messages of us shooting them down even recently. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing on the level that I am, which I'm wanting to bring things to light. James has experienced what we can do. The group that he actually was a part of it. And one of the scientists had never felt energy like that in his life. When we actually, via intention, we landed a conscious craft over this individual. And he was absolutely hammered from James. James was there present with that. And it was because of James being part of that experiment and the energy he's got that was happening. Just on a side note, I actually do have a device here. Jim Segala, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. There's a device out there called a MUPAS, which we have monitoring everything going on at Jaya Sanctuary right now, from different types of radiation with the Geiger counter, EMF, microwave radiation, temperature changes, a whole lot of other things. And what we're finding is when I'm having experiences, they're happening in sync with spikes on this device. And we're also using that for the sky watches that we're doing here as well. But in future, I'll say more about the psionics side, but there's a reason that I'm doing it, not to showboat or look at me, though I'll put a little bit out there publicly to show what can be done. It's because we need to step up, and it's not just in Australia. We need people like this all around the world, which are already doing this around the world, and you'll find out about this in time more and more. It's got to be a global effort, not just a handful of people, even worldwide. We need everyone to step up where they can with what they feel intuitively drawn to do to assist humanity to be its best version.
Now, I know with both of you, I mean, you've both established sanctuaries, areas where there's a very high vibe that's generated both from the land and from the activities that you both kind of hold there and the energies that you both kind of like manifest in your lives. And so you continue to have lots of UFO sightings, lots of extraterrestrial crafts show up or beings show up. And so you've documented this a lot. I know in the case of James, it's, it's like thousands of videos and photos over the years. And I think, Peter, I think you've also have quite a lot there. So recently, you've both continued to see things and film things in both Washington State or Hawaii or in Australia. So I don't know where you want to begin. Do we want to begin with you, Peter, or you, James, like some of the videos that you shared with us that we're going to talk about now?
Yeah, you can pop some of those on. But I mean, one video, going back to what Peter was saying, I was at the International UFO Congress, and I actually phased out on stage. And you can see this brilliant blue-green light. And then all you can see is the microphone in front of me. And there's these like 10-foot tall, some people said 12 feet, I don't know, but beings standing behind me that were photographed. No, that's not it. That's just the ships. But this one's powering up on command. Here I tell the ship as it's coming over, I said, power up. And it goes kaboom, and I thank it afterwards. But but it's really interesting. That was scrubbed, and you can't even get that talk. That talk has been censored from the International UFO Congress. Nobody can get it, and and I've been scrubbed too out of there as well. So I was invited and then uninvited, and I said, well, can you explain to me how I was uninvited to come back when we had a standing ovation and the biggest run to get copies of the talk than you've ever seen before, according to the staff? So I don't understand how this comes about. But so there is definitely censorship. There's a definite control. Yeah, there it is. But you can see that little white line in front of me is the microphone. But I mean, that just set off the nuts and bolters and the shills and everything. They went nuts on this, and I got uninvited, basically. But so they are so afraid of taking this to the next level. I have photographs of me bilocating, phasing out, reappearing, like all kinds of things happening that come with the territory. And that is it's like kryptonite to these guys. It's amazing. Anything, I was even told back in the late 80s not to talk about, the sweet energies of the Pleiades that they talk about in the Bible. These beautiful beings that are just so loving and beautiful, and they come. The sons of Arcturus, they talk about it. The Elijah ascending in a fiery chariot. The lights at the river Chabar, Ezekiel. They said, don't talk about that. Don't relate this. All the frescoes. I was showing all the frescoes with ships in them, and I said it's all connected. We can't just do this nuts and bolts thing. It's multidimensional. It's all connected. Our ancient history has it. It's in all the Sanskrit, like you were talking about, Michael. It's in all the ancient texts. It's on the temple walls. In Gosford glyphs, where Australia is, it's all written in stone. The ships coming down, exchanging DNA, everything. The pharaohs coming to Australia. All that's in there. So it's really weird if you have. First of all, if you have more knowledge than the majority in the UFO community, they get very competitive, and they start backstabbing and character slant, all that stuff comes out. And if you talk about the spiritual side of things, it really comes out. The claws really come out, and then you get attacked by the institutions. Basically, it's unbelievable. But they are so afraid of us realizing our own divine nature and our own abilities within us, what we can do. And they're doing everything they can to stop it. And what's sad is there are a lot of people that in ignorance or willingly are participating with this. And I didn't want to go into it, but the gossip and the rumors, I'm not, I don't have a Russian bestiality ring. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not gay. I can go on and on. All this nonsense that was out there, I'm really grounded. And just being a man, you have 3 strikes against you. And in some communities, 4 strikes for just being a man. It's like, this has got to cut out the nonsense. Come on, it's like, and then the one-upmanship, people trying to rise on the backs of others. I've lost major funders just by the nonsense and the people trying to steal the funding by using gossip and rumors, meritless gossip and rumors. So it's really a mess. The whole field of ufology, it's a controlled narrative, and it's a mess. And unfortunately, the ones that are the most messed up have risen to the top. And I know stuff I won't even talk about that is so decadent that some of these people are doing, that I'll leave that for some other show. But it's unbelievable. The more you know, the more you go, oh my God, where are these people going to land? Where are these extremely advanced, morally and integrity gifted people spiritually and technologically advanced people, where are they going to land? Who are they going to work with? Like the Epstein files, what institution are they going to work with that hasn't been corrupted? And that's a real serious problem. And so the only way we are going to have contact with spiritually and technologically advanced beings is to rise to the occasion and create places where they can function and where they're safe and they can function, high frequency places, which is what Peter and I have done, with ESETI and Jaya Sanctuary. And I hate to say it, but, the UN is not going to make it. It's not going to happen there. It's not going to happen with the military. It already has happened with the military, actually. But a lot of that's lower level contacts. It's not going to happen with your political leaders. And I don't really think, be honest with you, that this congressional oversight thing is really going to, there's only a couple people, was it Anna Paulina Luna, I think is one that is asking the right questions. Like, are these people very spiritually and technologically advanced, and can they help us clean up our planet and, take a quantum leap in evolution? She's asking those questions. And the answer is, I can't talk about that. That has to be talked about in a skiff, or we're not going to go there. That's not my purview. That's the answers you're getting. So we're not getting the truth about these very, very spiritually and technologically advanced beings. Some of them are ancient ancestors that are still here and still engaging those who rise to the occasion. And so that's where we need to go. And unfortunately, when you bring out this message, you're going to have the whole controlled narrative come after you. And I'm fine with that. Do whatever you want, because I'm good. I've had 2 near-death experiences. I'm good with Creator. No problem. I know who I am. I know what I've done. So you have fun with that, but there is going to be a boomerang, and there is going to be a backlash, and that all that karma nonsense is going to be exposed and accelerated. So, careful, you're going to hurt yourself. Yeah, here's a picture of actually Kuan Yin manifesting. And Peter took a beautiful picture of Kuan Yin. She manifested in his bedroom. And so we are having full-on masters. We had Mother Mary appear, Ezekiel, an ascended version of Ezekiel. We've had Baba G appear. All of these masters have appeared at the ranch, along with these light ships and these beautiful beings. So, and this is what they really don't want you to know, is that it's all connected. This was at Contact in the Desert. You can see the stage with all the orbs and light spears appearing. And actually, MUFON registered about 86 to 87 ships that came when we initiated contact. And actually, I'm not kind of invited there anymore. But I don't know what it is. When you deliver and you do what you say you do and you have the evidence, you're spit out, by the controlled narrative and by the people financing it, because they don't want this out there. So it is a controlled narrative, and people have to come clean, and we have to end the posers and the shills and being at the top of the food chain in these events. And then we can start getting the real information and have real contact.
And I know, Peter, you also have shared some of the movies, the videos of different crafts. So, you sent me 5. Any one in particular you want to start off with?
No, you can just put them up, and I'll just explain it as we go along. If you just want to go in any order, that's fine.
Okay. There's one. He's here. So, yeah. That one.
Oh, he's here. Yeah. So this is a vehicle of the one that I call the Wise One, or Wu. He looks like E.T. from the movie E.T. So he's a lot more darker brown, black eyes, funny sense of humor with his intelligence as well. And he's from a species that is originally from near GNZ 11, the galaxy, but they've outlived their home world. And also, it's spoken to me about a type of mantids that are sort of in a similar the same boat, meaning they can be killed, but they're actually they pretty much don't die. So this is a very enlightened being, and this one specifically resides in the sector of Orion now. And I was just showing in that video that it's not the space station. I predicted when he was coming because I could tell. And then he actually went on to visit one of the psionics after myself, and then a family member a few hours away. So it's been over probably 12, 13 plus years that I've been in contact with this individual now as well. Now, this video here, this is actually of an orb that's actually, if I've got the right one, this might actually be of a Pleiadian. If it's down low, I've got to see because there's some footage in the same area. Yeah, so here I'm actually talking about getting hit with a lot of energy, and there's a car in the distance on the right there, and then here is a flash of light. Now, this flash of light was about 20 meters in front of me and 3 others while we're doing psionic practices. And you'll actually see in a moment when it's zoomed up on what's actually appeared there, which is not a lens flare. It was done with a really expensive camera. There it is there. That's what actually appeared like a few feet off the ground, 20 meters in front of us while doing the psionic practices. So that was actually a Pleiadian called Elena, which is an ascended intelligence from the Pleiades area. So we're having a lot of this sort of down low contact happening here, which there's one more video that I think will be shown in a moment, which is actually connected to the Yorta Yorta tribe, which is the local tribe for this area where I'm situated with Jaya Sanctuary. And here it is. Here you'll see an orb appear in the tree and it will flash in and out. And before this, the psionic said a week before this that was with me that the Yorta tribe are going to appear as a red orb. And that's exactly what happened here. As I called them out in the video, you can audibly hear me say and talk to the Yorta tribe to appear if they can. And that's exactly what happened. So there is a couple more videos. This one here is actually with James and myself in Hawaii, where we had 2 massive ships come over, powered right up, and then another one come over. That James was on the other one, I was on these 2, and then they cross. I will say that James and I have spoken about there is a Pleiadian presence as well as others in Hawaii, but while I was there, and actually the last time, there is actually a huge Arcturian presence on that on the islands there. And some of the pink vehicles that come through or orbs are actually Arcturian. And we had a bit of a mixture, but it was mainly Arcturian and Pleiadian energies that I was interfacing with, as well as some orbs down low, like at Jaya, I had happened in the room and around me while I was with James as well. I'm not sure if that's it. I thought there might have been one more video, but oh yeah, this is another one here of just one of the practices where we have the orbs appear extremely down low. So this was after another psionic practice here where we've got an orb that appears overhead and it was hanging around for quite some time. You can actually see in a moment, once there's a close-up zoom after some time, something protruding from it momentarily as well. But this is just an example. Here it is here. You'll actually see, so there it is there, a little bit sort of protrude off the craft. These are not planes. These are not satellites, drones. We're using expensive cameras, and especially if I've got the Sony A7 S2 out, you'll actually see any of these details. With the psionics, they can sort of appear like pulsating blue and red or lights like navigation lights. It isn't. It's the way that a colored night vision device works. And when people come here, they understand that, which I've had hundreds of people here come and witness what's going on here themselves, as well as James has had tens of thousands over 40 years go and see it for themselves there at the East Ranch in Washington State as well.
Well, I know what it was like when I went to the Iseri Ranch back in 2006. It was 20 years ago now, but it was really an incredible experience. I mean, you could really feel the energy and the craft that were flying overhead. It was amazing. So I know, I mean, there have been tens of thousands that probably have gone to Ascenti over the years. So, you know, they've all probably had very similar experiences. So, you know, both of you have done your bit to raise the planetary consciousness to where we're at the moment. So, you know, what lies ahead? I mean, the planetary consciousness has risen. Both of you and James in particular talked about, you know, the clearing that's happening and stuff people becoming aware of what's really been going on. So what can we expect? I mean, can we expect in the next few years some kind of full-blown disclosure or ETs revealing themselves? Or is it going to be more of the kind of same old bit where, you have a little bit of official disclosure that they're releasing a few more files, but never enough to kind of like, get people excited that we're being visited by extraterrestrials?
You want me to handle that? There's just to dovetail on what Peter said. We have, I could send it to you. I don't know if you can add in later, but we have a beautiful picture of ET, and then the other picture of the Hollywood ET right next to it, and it's the same thing. And this was before the movie came out. We had photographs like that. So, it's pretty crazy. Now, it's one thing, there's two parts to this. One, the people who rise to the occasion that have a high frequency, that live, a life aligned with universal law. And a lot of times we're just talking about farmers and, your everyday folks and things like that. They're going to have contact and they're going to see the ships and things like that because they have the right frequency. And the people that are really caught up in their own self-importance and that are self-serving and opportunistic people are not. They'll say they have contact. They'll make up all kinds of stories, but when you ask for evidence, they don't have any. And so that is going to continue. The people that rise to the occasion, that learn how to heal unseen negative influences, keep their energy fields clear, and do their daily practices, those are the people that are going to have contact. And there's certain areas that are UFO hotspots where the energy's right, where there's going to be a lot of contacts. I think eventually, they told me that they're getting close to just uncloaking. And when they do that, disclosure is going to come from the skies. It's out of the hands of, the controllers. And that's happening right now on a major scale. UFOs are showing up everywhere. Major flotillas and flying over major cities and countries and down in New York and Florida and Brazil and everywhere. I mean, Mexico, this is already happening, and they can't, they'll try to censor it, but they can't, because how do you censor the sky? They won't be able to do that. So they're going to keep that going, and they're going to accelerate it. And the more people rise to the occasion, they are going to contact them. And the people that don't are, they're just going to continue with their program. They're a big distraction to contact, because basically it's making your own personal God connection, creator, great spirit, whatever you want to call it. And that expands you into interdimensional mind, and you start having contact, and you get beyond thinking you're just a body and a personality, where a lot of people are still operating. And then when you go multidimensional, they're going to go, oh, they're ready. That person's ready. This person is solid. They're very morally and integrity solid. And so these are the people we're going to work with, because they won't twist our message and make it all about them and cash in on it, basically. And so that's really where the big contacts are going to happen, and where the real messengers are going to come from, or the ambassadors. But there's going to be a lot of interference, and there already is. And it's almost all interference right now. There's very few that are, let's say, have a really high degree of integrity right now in there. But, and I'm not trying to come down on people and saying I'm holier than thou or I'm better than anybody else. The two near-death experiences in 40 years of studying with elders around the world has kind of got me into that position where contact is very easy. And Peter came in with that ability. He's got all kinds of beans hanging out in his head, so I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a good thing. But, and there are the children right now, they know, they feel it, they sense it, they know. When they come to the ranch, they're like a kid in a candy store, and they see everything. They see Bigfoot phasing in and out. They see the fairies and the gnomes and the ships and the masters and everything, and they'll be pointing over there, but a lot of the adults can't see it or don't know what's going on. But the kids are wide open, and it's sad that we don't really teach the kids these things. So when they do have an experience, they don't freak out and they don't tell their friends, and all their friends make fun of them and all this. We need to make it available.
Okay. How about you, Peter?
I think it's a little bit of what you were saying with everything, Michael. I've been with James a number of times where we've had up to 400 people sky watching, and the joy and the love and the energy when you've got people with the same intention is amazing, but it's flipping that to a civilization scale. Now, the way it's been put to me is that disclosure could be an overnight thing. If we dropped our differences and we got together, it actually could be. But that may be the case when we're down the track a bit further. Who knows what's going to happen now with the United States? Is it something that's a repeat of Blue Book? We have had talk from Obama about UFOs acknowledging it, as well as Trump. So maybe it's just something that's going to come to light of an official acknowledgement that there are these things on an official level. You could almost say that's already what's going on, but the thing with this is that there are layers to what's going on, and this is where we're co-creating this reality. And part of it is I think, like Dolores Cannon has spoken of this before, and it's been relayed to me in a very similar way. It'll be like a light switch is turned on, and we're just going to have a knowingness, and that knowingness is coming through right now for a lot of experiences like James and myself. We've had it for years, but others, they start to get this over time, this knowingness where it's like, you don't need to know anything. You can meditate on it. It's accessible. But there are also still mysteries at all levels of consciousness. And so, I think for myself anyway, it's humanizing and making it public what we can, our avenue of how we are experiencing and what we're experiencing and having experiences with. And to an extent, we do have protection. James talked about it before. I actually haven't been invited to I've been invited to 2 events, one in Australia and one in America, in over a decade. That's it. I've been flown to Malibu to do a private talk, to other places. I'm extremely busy, but on a public level for events, there's been talk of getting me at places. It never happens, and that's why I've got Jaya Sanctuaries. I've said to a billionaire before, I don't need anyone's money. I'm doing this off my own back. Yeah, I've got a mortgage for Jaya, but I put my money where my mouth was and everything I've got. And because of that, it's my heart that's speaking through me to assist humanity. And James has been doing the same for 40 years. I've only been in the public eye for 15, 16 years doing this. And I'm 42 now, and let's just say I can't wait for this to be done because I want a good holiday. I haven't really had a break even in the last 7 years. So I can't imagine how you or James are feeling doing this for many years like yourself as well, Michael.
As far as upcoming events that you're hosting or putting together, so you want to kind of like direct people, James, and then Peter, like any upcoming events you got and your website or books or anything?
Yeah, we have a lot going on. If you go to eseti.org, you can go to the website and everything's on there. I have an ambassador training. Peter and I are going to do a workshop together. I also have self-mastery tools, which are going to go into the ancient teachings of the Ethiopian Bible and Yeshua and how they dealt with the archons and the demiurge and the negative entities. We're going to be teaching all that and the Ascension tools that are coming out now that were actually censored in the original Bible. But and it's also with other information. What's really interesting is now that all this information has come out in the Ethiopian Bible about the true teachings of Jesus, we've been teaching that for 40 years here. And it's amazing. It's just like finally vindicated. I mean, I've had people do this like blasphemy, and things like that. And I go, what are you talking about? We're bringing out the real knowledge, the Gnostic wisdom of the past. And now it's all being validated, which is great. So we've got quite a few events. We have gardening and herbal workshops, yoga workshops, sky watches. People can come and we have, yurts and cabins and outbuildings they can rent. And I think it's going to be a really busy year, even more so because, our view of Mount Adams is phenomenal. And ships are coming in and out of that mountain on a regular basis. Peter's filmed it. I filmed it. There's a kind of a galactic airport on the top level, an extreme technology on the next level, which is you can film coming off the mountain using PIP technology. And then below that are the inner Earth folks. And so they come out and connect with people. Plus we have Bigfoot and other, because we are in this purple zone. It's a magnetic field area. The government knows about it, where the veils are very thin. So it's very easy to make contact and very easy to heal as well, to have spontaneous healings. But there's a lot going on. From May on, you can just go to the website and find out all the workshops and other classes. And we do counseling work as well, as does Peter. We clear out any unseen negative influences and clear out the wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experiences, and then kind of hook people up with their spiritual families, which is like a quantum leap in evolution. But we do that too as well. But it's going to be really busy from May on. It's going to be pretty crazy there.
Yeah, for myself, it's been pretty full on already. I just finished a workshop a few days ago. We've got a 2-day remote viewing workshop I'm teaching here this weekend. I've been having people from all around the world coming here as well, which is awesome. But we mainly do remote viewing workshops. Initiating contact is sort of like an expanded version of CE5, where we clear the space and create a sacred like James does. We invite them in to connect, and then we go through a technique where you actually psychically, psionically interface with them. So it's not about just going out and reaching out to them. What do you do when that happens? Well, you now interface with them. So it's teaching that in a safe manner. There's yoga and self-mastery and hangout workshops as well. There's online courses for remote viewing and self-mastery that are on the website at jayasanctuary.com, Jaya sanctuary.com. There's a heap of free content. I've done 13 books, which are available through the website as well as a couple of feature films. One of them's on iTunes still, but the other one is now available free to watch on YouTube that actually features James and ESETI as well.
Well, thank you both. I mean, you've done incredible work over the years in raising consciousness and documenting ET contact. So I know you're going to be doing a lot more in the years ahead. So you both done tremendous service to humanity. So thank you, and it's definitely been an honor talking with you both.
No, likewise.
Thank you, Michael.
Likewise, yeah. And I just want to say quickly, if it's okay, Michael, if everyone could just send just love and positive energy to Michael. He's been going through some stuff, and I just think the thousands of people that watch this, that's a good love hit and good energy to assist with the healing process, if you don't mind me saying that, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it takes its toll on you. I mean, there are unseen negative influences out there that take some pretty major shots at you. And I know a lot of us on the forefront here are getting hammered now and then. And it's not fun, but it's temporary.
Yeah, and thank you to you, Michael. You've been doing this for years as well. Like the amount of stuff that you've put out, and to James, like all of us here, it's just, thank you for what you have all done. It's having an effect.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.